So when we talk about the business analytics, as a whole, there are different kinds of the business analytics that we do as a business analytics, but we are not predicting everything and not creating a model every time, not about a visualization every time. There are various types of the visual analytics that is being used for solving the business problem. To see on a broader term, we can say that there are four types of the business analytics that is being used in the business analytics. The four types of the business analytics are descriptive analytics. Descriptive analytics, when we say, is the least complex type of the type, or that doesn't require the large amount of the statistical data, and it doesn't require efforts but can give you the very efforts and the result. As a result, you have the data, you aggregate it and found out that the consumers who are buying X products are spending Y amount on an every transactions. So this comes directly from every data. You don't need to use the statistical data, you don't need to use the spatial method, you need to just aggregate the data and find the result. So descriptive analytics are the direct levels for without using any statistical techniques, and you can get the result. So it is the, to summarize it, you can say that this descriptive stats is a kind of the stats or the kind of the analytical techniques wherein you can take the informations direct, wherein the data can directly give you without doing the lot of steps. You can just aggregate it and you can say that this is happening what with the data. Then the second takes with the diagnostic analytics, which is about the complexities and and additions to the business analytics. Here we try to use what we need to drill down, what we need to analyze further, what analytics problems we can find out, what contributing areas we can find out, what certain regions of a sale fallen down, and the sale has fallen down. We were spending trimmers at road and week of week, but this week the trimmers sales felt flat all of the sudden. Here we try to diagnose the business problem and we try to identify the reasons behind it. Trimmer sales failed because there were competitors who were introduced this week, and other competitors were giving you more discount. They were giving you more facilities, and the traders performance is not good, the feedbacks are negative, so this is impacting on the business trimmer. This is the component of the business diagnostic analytics. Then you will be going to the predictive analytics, which is the complexities, and that is the third. Here we will use a lot more statistical data, statistical algorithms like the regressions or the classification techniques, wherein you will be getting the output, and you will be able to predict the value that will be happening in the future. You will be predicting about the sale, you will be predicting about the behavioral consumer. You will be identifying whether the consumer will buy or not, all these things. And the last part is the prescriptive analytics, wherein using all these info methods, you will be giving you all the outputs to the stakeholders, to the business stakeholders. You will be giving the prescriptions. If we do this, then action and our performance can improve this way. So this, that, so if we say that take out n number of x products out of the zone B to the zone A, because the zone B has the less sales of it, the zone C has more sales of that, you will be able to convert more sales, and it will be able to give one extra crore which for the regions, and it will be overall incremental for the 50 lakhs rupees. Here we are providing the prescriptions that you should do this to get more outcome to the business owner, to the business management teams. All this is the prescriptive analytics. So we are now and talk about the business analytics, business models. We decided that we will be creating the business models. When the business we will be doing this, drilling the data, and ultimately we will be analytical model. But how the business model will be analytics, and what are the different business models can be created? When we say about a business analytics business model, it is basically the steps of the processes or the steps of the code that runs from the A to Z or A to start to end, to lead to the solutions, and your solutions will be your producer is buying or not. Your solution could be whether what amount of sales you will be getting. Your output will be what are the groups that you are getting at end. All these are the business components. Your models will be containing the statistical data, your cleaning steps, your statistical business model steps, your identification steps, and you will be trying to business model. You will be able to completely dependent model that is used. Your algorithm is used on the basis matrices to add the processes. When you build up the model, you will be going to sequentially. You will be defining the business problem. As an example, I'm understanding whether the particular person will repay that loan or not, yes or no. So this is a business problem statement. I will then identify the variables to understand which are the variables that will be contributing to identify whether that person will repay or not, will repay the loan or not. It could be yes or no. It will be good income, the person has the family, the person has the good balance sheets, the person has a good credit score. All the scores will be used for the business components, and you will be able to find out what are the outcomes, what are the variables that will be becoming important. You will be creating the data sets, all these data variables, and ultimately creating the data single sets which will be further analyzed to convert it into the business models. Once you explore that business model, that is the data things that you need, and these are the business contributed to identify that person will repay the loan or not. You will prepare the data so that it will data single sets will be created, and that single data will be used and will be used for further analysis for finding out outcomes. Then we'll be creating the business models, when you'll be or statistical techniques to find out the outcomes. Then you'll be deploy the business model that you mean to say that using that models for predicting the futures and the businesses and managing the business model. So when the time changes, your time behavior can also change. You will be refining the business models in the future business problems. That means you are understanding the sales behavior, whether the consumer will buy or not in the sales time. Every sales teams months. So within before that 6 months, you will be refining the business model, clean the business model. You will be identifying, modeling it. You should be able to capture this model if any changes are happening. When you're trying to business building the business model, you will be defining the cleaning the data sets. You will be preparing the data sets. You will be using the analytical techniques, and you will be using the analytical techniques. Then there are several techniques available. So let's discuss these techniques in a bit detail. When you're trying to build a business model and you're trying to finalize the business statistical techniques, that statistical techniques is based on the outcome of the variable, that the outcome that you need. You need to base the classification, yes or no. You will need a continuous value, what sales I will be getting. You will be getting the group. All these things will be deciding what kind of algorithm you will be using. As an example, my consumer will coming to the business, yes, no, if he's coming or he's not coming. So which kind of these components are classifying it? What is the statistical algorithm can be used for classifications of these algorithms? Which are various kinds of algorithms. Some few of the algorithms are the logistics regressions, key regressions technique, the decision trees, the neural networks. All these kinds of are variable algorithms that are used for the classification. So these are the prescript classification business problem. There are forecastings that you will be able to forecast the future. There are different algorithms that are used, and the classification algorithm can be used further. As an example, linear regression is one of the techniques for we are used for forecasting or predicting the value for the future. Time series can be used. You can also use New York network or random forecasting or the decision trees, which are used for continuous values. Decision tree and the random forest are used can be used for both the ways, and their treatment is different. Predictions, and where you can be able to find out this prediction analysis. Then affinity model defining will be identifying the business patterns. When somebody buys the product A, so he also buys the product B. You also want to go to the different kinds of statistical algorithm, like the market basket analytics. Is the market analytics is a key statistical method which is used for affinity modeling. So this kind of techniques are used. There are certain techniques which are very deep and can support the various kinds of algorithms. As an example, neural networks can be used for various ways. Classifications, you can use them for regression and many other techniques and many other ways. So neuron network is the complex algorithms which can use for complex solvings for the business problems, business techniques. Once you use for the finding like the business models, then you comes into the picture is putting the models into the production. Putting the business production is you are using it now live, that will be going live, and it will be giving you the result. But how to do that? Deploy the model. So when you're trying to put a predictive business model, there are different ways. Once you manually for predictive values for in the future way, and that predictive business model value will be used. So as an example, out of the 100 customer, so these are the sets of the customers who are definitely going to sums during the sales period. So give them sales that business stakeholders and tell them that they are coming, they are more likely coming. So this how the business models can be happening in a way that these people will be definitely coming. Or you can put them into the automated mode. As an automated mode, you mean to say that back end the algorithm is working and it is tracking the model. Once you deploy the business model and you will be production in the business scale, you need to manage this model as well. Just an example, I tell that developments you are trying to consumers will be shaping or not. You will be ultimately using the business prediction algorithms, but for that predictive algorithms you will be selling that in the periodically, and for all the sales period that can't happen. So your business behavior changes. Your consumers will be buying something in the season like the winter season, summer season. So when you develop the business model like that is being predicting the business regions which will be coming to sales, for the sales commercial period, same model will not model for the winter sessions, for the not work efficiently at the winter season. So you need to improvise it. So although many models will be similar, but their weights will be mod changed. They need to refine the business model. You need to clean the manage. You need to update the model. You need to maintain and manage the models, so that it will be changed in the future, and it will not be getting obsoleted. Once your business model is live, improvised, in, that comes into the next in the business reporting. Once your business intelligence report, so when you're trying to outcome, you're trying to show the business stakeholders what exactly is happening. Their stakes reporting plays a very important role. So you need to develop this ORP systems, where the data can flow from one end and can outcome to the other end. So your final outcomes is created in the form of the dashboards, in the interactive dashboards, or in the final outputs. Outputs can be the PPT as well. You need to develop the PPT pipeline. Your models can come in, data is being fed, and the outcomes is provided to the stakeholders and the users. So this is what exactly is happening in the sales period. So do this in the next in those intelligence period will be used in the dash way. So which we use in the discussion with the algorithms. So we need to discuss, understand what is the future of the business models and emerging trend. So emerging trend is important because you need to identify how exactly the things are changing, into what exactly is happening, what exactly is going. So what is the future of the business analytics is basically the changing. It's not about the structured data now, it is the unstructured data as well. As an example, now these days more the tweeters are updated, feedbacks are analyzed, and these ways are being structured in a random scenarios. There is no proper scenarios into the business scenarios. When you see about a business data is happening, as an example, if we are trying to understand, see if feedbacks of the consumers that this is happening, then your data can be unstructured as well as structured. You need to bring those data into the structured into the systems of how the things are changing, what kind of the feedbacks are changing with respect to the business products. So not only the business structured, but also the unstructured data is also coming into the picture. We need to visualize it, we need to update the business models. So because the visually it is important, easy to understand the data, and it will be useful for the data. If we are having the charts, we will be having the numbers. So all these are important emerging future trends into the improvise further. Although there are various improvisations already happen, which is happening, it will be further leading to the more improvised results in the future. Now there are more demand for the embedded analytics, the system that uses that analytics and at the back end, and giving the results in the front end. Then there is a improvised decisions where we can be able to record the business outcomes, and so that we can update it, and they can remain consistent within the remain outcomes. There are more emerging tools, analytical tools into the future. Now you realize that Python is also a sudden into the picture and has become the major tool. Power was the major player in the recent times period, and in the past trend period, it was tool known as SaaS, which was the leader in the business market. But the SaaS has taken place by the Python now. Why? Because Python is an open source, but there is a SaaS is a licensed software. And now the people want to go into the analytics, and they don't want to spend money into the picture. They tend to open for the open tools, and Python is taking over the edge over here. There are many dashboards who are open-ended and they're completely open source. People will be moving towards that as well. In the future there will be complete business models into that those tools, or supporting algorithm softwares that are the open softwares, so that companies can save the cost, people can learn without save money cost to for learning it and save the cost. And their functionalities is the same version as the licensed version. Now the use of the product analytics and the descriptive analytics is happening in the future. So it is not only happening into finding out business insights, but it will also use in the decision making improvisation. There will be many factors that will be coming into the practice. Companies will be going further for analyzing and analytics, sales models, and the customer algorithms not only need to move to the business models, but also need to understand and take the key debate decisions using the business analytics for further sales, for marketing, for operations, and for all those things can improvise using the concept of the business analytics. So analytics is not only used or in the save that wherein the perfect decisions can be taken, but obviously they can be taken into the seats that the decisions are better than the usual ones. Future of the business and consulting and analytics. Now you know that the consulting is also important components, and consulting organizations that will be leveraged and has been developed and has been analyzed into the business firms growth. There are many firms that are used for serving the business data science skills. So it is important to create a huge team which can be served various problems with the help of the any kinds of the things with the analytics. Their teams, consulting teams, and the consulting firms will comes, and their role is major role. They takes into the business problems, try to solve it, because they have the specialized teams who can come in, and they can come into the consulting into the huge future, because they have the dedicated teams and they can solve the business analytics problems. Data scientists are now wearing the large amount of data into the, they are the large patterns and finding the patterns because they use the outcomes into the businesses. So if you are insulted with the consulting firms, you will be solving the problems that will be given by the businesses teams, and your results will be output that your results can be used and take the decisions accordingly. Then the intersections and the data sciences and consulting is growing because the data science can't live in isolations, and the consulting is happening using the output that is being the data science into the improvisations. When you consult the decisions to the business teams, they will be utilizing the results for ultimately business and gaining the results. There are several used new architecture techniques that are coming to the picture. Data is becoming huge. There are huge number of data that is being collected now, that is in the older terms, and everybody is collected the data into the transactions that will be captured. You are doing the digital data that is being captured. Data is captured, is showing everywhere, and there are real time tools that need to be used to leverage the data, else otherwise it will be able to not able to manage the data. So there are trillions of data that is being getting generated every time. So your tools for understanding and motivations and they're using the tools of the big data tools. You people now need to leverage the data which is the real time and using the business volumes. So if you are able to manage the data using the big data methodologies, you will be understanding the patterns more quickly, and more data that will be able to understand, you can take into the better decisions that is being used at the systems as well, that will be useful informations. There are several models like the Hadoop distribution systems, cloud who is sharing the data, and you are able to leverage the data for giving the outputs. There are several platforms that allows the analyst to give the analytics what exactly is happening, to give the better understandings of the data, even if it is big and huge number of data, and can use the results with a fraction of seconds to take the decisions frequently based on the data. Analytics has techniques has been started looking into the new way because the low number of data is available and more profound tools are available. So this can better look at the data. They can understand the business trends and they can say the data now, and they can have the good point of view, and they can create a visualization report out of the same data using the more profound tools, because if the things are changing every seconds, the tools of the visualizations can happen every seconds, and more using the more advanced techniques for leveraging out the huge volume of the data it consumes the in the consumable forms. There are subject matter experts who develops and apps for developing the business models, who can develop a use for analyzing the data. There are, as an example, there are various tools that gives you the quick severance report that is happening if there is a e-com giant who is generating the sales, who is app giving the app consumes in the way that it gives huge number of data to use the continuous report into the pictures what exactly is happening, and this way they can use. If you have the channels, YouTube will be generating the seconds that these people number of people are seeing this video, this number of people have seen your latest videos, and this number how your trends are changing, and all these things at the real time, and is processing the huge number of data every second. So how the trends are changing. There are tools who can leverage the data into the things and give you the appropriate decisions in a fraction of seconds. How the advanced growth of technologies is happening. There are earlier techniques, regressions or the logistical regressions for taking the decisions. Now because there is a huge amount of growth is happening, a huge number of people, organizations, research is happening. So their expansion is the business analytics has happened in the several ways in the domains and concepts. Like there are customer analytics that is happening, customer in a better way. Market analytics is happening, how the marketing can be done, how the marketing can be leveraged. Web analytics are used to understand how the data is web platform is performing, how the web presence is happening. Text and speech is happening to understand how you can things are changing. As an example, if you gives you the elections last time, there were huge amount of analysis that happened to understand what are the different kinds of components he talked about in his speeches to win the elections. There are several election words that is being used into the speeches, and now there are certain what kind of elections, what are the key things that he used in his speeches There are various analytics that is being performed in the pitch and text. Then there are pricing and sales analytics that are happening, which is the most appropriate price for the particular geography, how the sales can happen, how the analytics can happen. There are also humans resources, how the business models can deploy for making the use them available. You can use this analytics in the data analytics in the HR. HR people also use the HR analytical techniques to understand how the business changing is happening and changing in the analytics world. They will be able to use in hiring whether you will be joining them or not. If they find out any doubt, then you will be finding out any doubt, then they will not take you or onboard you. And they are used in the several sectors and are leveraging the opportunities of the business analytics. There are more business analytics models that is happening now, more profound solid algorithms that is being taken happening. And so earlier, if you are based on the machine learning algorithms, artificial intelligence, deep learnings, now you have the our phone can understand our face, our friends fingerprints, or deep learnings. So all this analytics has happening and travel a lot on the way, and it is more solid and more advanced, and more chances of probability that it will be growing further. More understandings of the business take you further, will take the businesses further, and take the business problems into the business analytics, into the growth for the business analytics world. Few of the business analytics models reporting are, there are predictive maintenance done by the shell company uses it to understand what are the maintenance that are being required, and uses the prediction algorithms to develop the business maintenance scenarios, and use those to provide the maintenance. Then there is a deliveries who are Potayo, who uses the prediction and algorithms to understand what are the delivery patterns, access use patterns for the predictive business banking, and you will be what consumers buy, and use the further point of actions using the data. Now to summarize this further, you have to understand how the business analytics is evolving, how the analytics is, what is the large amount of data is analytics, how it has grown from data to more insights data, how it has been developed insight based data to the model building, predictive analytics to insight patterns to decision making to better utilizations, to better decision key makings to support. And if you are able to understand those things, you will be able to understand in a better way. Business analytics is happening in the methodologies wherein the different tools are used, wherein the different statistical techniques are used, different algorithms are used, and problems are converted into the smaller sets and sequential steps, which are used for solving the step by step using the various components of the business analytics problems. So this is how exactly the business analytics is happening. Future of the business analytics and the emerging trending must be the part of the overall schemes for the thinking, changing and related issues should be factored in organizations to go beyond the customer centricity analysis and helps in understanding the sales, the business analytics. Analytics helps us predicting the decisions making, how can they can help to understand the business decisions, what are the decisions that you are being required to make. The future of the consulting and analytics, the firms are looking for the consultations, so how the business data sets with a variety of the consulting projects. Data scientists are now using the large number of sets for consulting in the world. They are using for the data science for consulting the business growth, introduction to the new analytics architecture. More tools are available with the big data problem, capturing and analyzing the large number of data for valuing the businesses. Data storage capacity, Hadoop is also used for the distribution for the systems and becoming the staple for the company's information in the architecture for the platforms. What are the tools analytics that are data for interactions, allowing the use for data, better understanding the findings of the summary, the projects of the results, how it can be floated, how to understand analytics. Art business architecture is also playing a very important role for simple understanding what are the visualizations they wish to make, how to use it. The subject matter experts are also needed to develop the relevant apps for the tools that they are building with the strategic planning that they are being deployed for the architecture performance architectures evaluations, how the growth of the advanced analytics is happening into the several analytics like customer analytics, marketing analytics, the web analytics. The text spaces, the pricing analytics, the sales volume, the volume of the growth of the advanced techniques that we already discussed about building the types, the predictive analytics for front of the machines, how to utilize those skills into making the large amount of data for the data science, for the variety of senses, for the focusing on the business analytics models, new developer making the business markets, capturing the data, how to use the use for the business analytics example, what we discussed in the predictive analytics for the shell, predictive analysis for the UI and access bank summarizations. The word analytics has become into the more foreground for the decades, and analytics is also used in the combined data sets for making and the information technology, statistical understanding, the qualitative methods, how it will be understanding for the competitive base for the informations. The business analytics has the wide variety of the range for the business applications, and all this will be helpful for the importance for the business analytics. The representing the do business analytics is also the method for taking the tools for the sound commercial business decisions, facilities for the better understanding so the business availability, primary and secondary data provides the competitive business advantages for the competitors, how to convert into the data valuable information summarizations. Business analytics is also used for the three business sources for the business constructions, business industries. In the business analytics is understanding how to closer into the business achievement in the real time, and how is the future situations for the insights of the business application is happening. The future of the business analytics is also the business applications for the unstructured as well as the web log data for the semantic webs, and how exactly this data is flowing for the variety of the decisions taken for the tools into the big data problems, and capturing the business applications for creating the business values and integration with the stuff. The description analytics is also used for the past and the present understanding for the perspective. It is a simple ways for the business analytics and employees for the business data aggregations, how the business data aggregation is moving, how to monitor the business mining techniques. It also helps in strengthening the business strengths and working upon the weaknesses what the organization has come into the understanding the business patterns, the business behavior practices, the consumers behavior. The most common business descriptive business analytics is the way they are doing the things, visualizations of the statistical aids. The types of the business analytics are based upon the descriptive analytics. For example, learning management system platforms for the learning systems is also based on the analytical tools for the reporting the business institutions and measuring the business finances, the leading to the business performances, finding the helping and identifying the business improvements area. The types of the business analytics for the diagnostics analytics, the focuses on the business performances for determining the factors, what exactly is contributing, how exactly data is being contributing, what are the business trends, how it will be able to employ the business things for the dealing with the business situation, data recovery procedure for the data mining, and understanding how the correlations is happening in the business situation for the live events that is been happening for the probabilities, understanding likelihood, understanding the distributions of the incomes, how to understand and meet with the business situations for meeting the business areas, for the business analytics, for the business diagnostics, how the employees techniques are attributations for the business sensitivity, how the analytics and the situations is happening for the algorithms, the business classifications, the business regressions has limited for the actionable claims for inciting the business delivery that is very important into the business situations for identifications and the businesses that is being required for the predictions, how the business is changing with the business situations that is being happening with the business model, the machine learnings, the machine learnings understanding the business situations, how to devise the business model that will be extrapolated like the likelihood of the selection outcomes, how the machine learnings can also help in the business train for the business situations. It's also led for the understanding of the business accuracy. What are the different kinds of the predictive analytics? The predictive which is used for the sentiment understanding, the data collection, the media for providing the comprehensions, the business opinions, how exactly that was being used, this was being analyzed for the business predictions, the sentiments of the new subject markets into the pictures that was being placed for the sentiments into the business analysis techniques, what are the kind of the business reads that are being used, how exactly this will be forming part of the businesses, how the businesses will be used for understanding the intelligence subways, business actions, how it will be used for the business situation, prescription analysis for providing the business recommendations for the next best business actions, how the potential manipulations was being performed, how do you drive the business outcomes, for capable suggestions, what outcomes recommendations, what are the business outcomes, what the recommendations needs to be, the feedbacks are did, and how the constraints will be able to understand and analyze, use for business testing and in developing the business products, for the business analytics, for creations, what are recommendations, for which this drives for the business opinions, how exactly they will be taken to in the real time, how to deal with the real time complexity neutral works into the business case, the business for recommendations, what is happening on interactions, how it can be able to identify the goals, business situations, identifications, mathematical business models that are close from the is a simpler for the business situations, describing the relationship, variables, historical data sets, how the business model is setting with the business data for predicting the outcomes, analytical models, estimations, algorithms for creating the algorithms, analytics coming in all the shapes, sizes, so classifications interesting the business models. Some business models are opaque, some other models are complexities with the six different analytics. This is different analytics like the defining the business problem, exploring the data, how to prepare for the data relations, creations of the business models, deploying the business models, and managing the business model for the project you understanding the business models. It is important to understand how to accomplish, how the model should be spent, how to define business models, and understanding the scope, how to the project analytics assumptions, how the importance will be taking place, and projections, how the business will be taking place, how the business inputs will be taken place, how the project scopes, what do they want, why they want, what is included in the projects, what is the timelines, how is the staff assignments, how is the business algorithms, what are the access methods that is being used, the data business characteristics, fields, land size, the context, business rules, business regulations, the rules default, the business populations, misuse and the business field competencies, understanding the business situations, data consistencies, the business labels and the business situations, analytical models for the data preparations is also used for considering the data access and the business standardizations of the business formats, and playing plays for the business situations into the businesses, and the considering of the table of the hundreds of the variables for the business variables. Finally, there comes from the transformation the business models for the creation of the business analytics, and it is also used for creating the sets. So how exactly the data is, how it can be selected, what are the different kinds of formats, what are the transformation tools, what are the data sets specifications are also used for the business analytics for using the things for the right analytics for the business situation, business algorithms, the business combinations, the business techniques, the applications of the business hypothesis, and there are also the things about the business situation of models to use and the techniques. What is the classification? Assign a new business records to the business defined sales and predicting the futures for understanding them, predicting the outcomes. What are the techniques and the logistical regulations? The decision trees, the natural networking, the link analytics for forecasting. It is also used to understand what are the things. So for the things, it is the technique for the predicting the numerical value. It is the linear regressions and the natural business networking that is to understanding the business models, the predictions, the use, the estimations, the classification of the project for the future behavior, products, business, understanding the business values, techniques, the natural techniques, the decision lives, decision trees, the link analysis, the business analytics, the algorithms, the market basket analysis. The business affinity grouping used for the rights for the defines terms go together, go for the business markets, baskets, cross sellings, root causing analysis. For the techniques, it is the market basket analysis, memory based reasoning tools, the link for the strength the techniques is used for the natural network. So the strengths includes the flexibility, the mimics, the integrations and neurons for the framework, the for summarizations that will be helpful for the business inputs and can be helpful for the business variables for the one. Whereas the consideration is used for the models that are being used for the explanations or for the must for the 02 and for the nuns that grow for the categorical variables or the lot of the business variable. Decision trees are the strengths for the model for easy strength going for the categorical numerical data, going for the categorical number of sets for the fields as well as input for the techniques. When the considerations, the models can be helpful for the bushy by the sparse data and how to be brand. Meaning going with the memory, decisions making, finding out the most resembles that values the variables for the predictions, little predictions, adaptability, conceptions for the inputs without training to work with the text and the consideration. Do not work with the numeric values, only categorical variables doesn't do not work well with a lot of the business variables. So these are the sum of the strengths of the memory, so registering and the consideration. What exactly needs to be considerations for the business situations and the business place. For the market basket analysis, this is the form of the clustering that will be creating the rules about which the items was being purchased together do not work with the numeric values, only categorical business values. What are the business categories that was being purchased together business? So your strengths and includes use for the genetic algorithm is using the business natural strengths. Each has its prediction against each for the determining the best ones. Taking the considerations not for the classification, and the classification is used for the indirect relationship learnings, finding out the natural growth for the group for the studs and not business predictive analysis. And once this business model is based for the optimizations, operationalizations for embedding the business sales operational report needs to be generated. Model management, once the business model has been deployed, it needs to be properly maintained, managed, how it can be obsoleted over the period of the business times. That also needs to be analyzations. What are the techniques for the business ERP implementations like the report